Aesthetic.
So,
Yeah. Sure, I was just looking. Oh, right? So good afternoon, everyone. I wish is there a way to see the Zoom? Probably not.
We don't.
Okay, you can. I really appreciate everyone being here, and I know we have a lot more participants on the Zoom. Thank you for choosing to spend your time here with us today to talk about a topic that is challenging and can bring up a lot of emotional distress in all of us, right? And so we want to create a space that is comfortable for you to share, but we also want to provide a space where we can do some grounding together. Seems to be a little bit of the theme for the day, which is a good thing. So just looking at our title, Assisting Distressed and Distressing Students, we want to be able to give you some tips and tools for how to support students who are in distress, but we also want to focus on you, the individual, and folks in your department who are interacting with students who are distressed, because that can be distressing, right? And so we play a role together in that interaction, and we really want to support the interaction. We want to support you, and we want to support the student. Okay, the next slide. And I'm going to kick us off with our amazing Charlene Massillon to do a little mindfulness activity just to ground us.
Yay, bravo.
So I thought it would be a good idea to do a body scan mindfulness. I don't know if any of you have heard of a body scan, but it's essentially just a systematic awareness of different body parts to help ground you into the present. So I thought it would be a good idea for us to start off with that. Then welcome. And I'm gonna wait for. Just for everyone who just walked in, we're gonna do a body scan mindfulness activity. It'll be really quick, probably 2-3 minutes. I'm gonna read from the script here. I'll go ahead and start us. First, find a comfortable position in which to sit, but make sure you remain awake and aware. If you're comfortable doing so, allow your eyes to gently close. Start by tuning into the posture of your body. It's helpful to keep the spine straight and energized while relaxing the muscle around the skeleton. You can use the breath to aid in this process. As you breathe in, breathe energy and awareness into the spine, reaching the spine gently upward. As you exhale, let go. Allow the shoulders to drop. Let there be some slack in your jaw. Soften the belly. We'll start the body scan by tuning into the crown of the head. Simply bring your awareness to the top of your head, tuning into whatever is present for you. You feel the skin off the scalp, temperature of the air on your skin, hair. There's no right or wrong, just tune into whatever is physically present. And drop down into the forehead and brow, again, tuning into whatever is present. You may want to notice the temperature of the air, some slight scrunching of the brow, some relaxation. Simply be with it. Drop down into the eyes and cheekbones. With eyes closed, you may notice some movement in the eyes. Continue down to the tip of the nose and upper lip. Here you can feel the body breathing gently and naturally. You may notice the air tickling on its way in and coming out just a little bit warmer. Move on into the mouth. Looking at the lips, jaw, tongue. You may notice the moisture, how the tongue is resting, any tension or slack in the jaw. Drop down into the neck and throat, noticing any tension or any movement of the body with the breath. Remember, there is nothing you should be experiencing. There's no right or wrong. Tune into the direct physical experience. Let go of the judgments and thoughts. Return to the actual physical body. And move out the tops of the shoulders into shoulder blades, perhaps noticing any movement with the breath or the sensation of the clothes on the body. Drop down into the upper arms and elbows. And again, just tune into whatever is directly present in your experience. Continue down into the forearms and wrists, perhaps noticing any points of contact. Your arms are resting in your lap, the arms of the chair. Just notice how that feels. Moving into the hands, over the palms, fingers, and the back of the hand. Notice any points of contact where the hands may be touching each other or resting in the lap. You may again notice the temperature of the air feels different on the back of the hand than it does on the palm. Back into the chest and rest here for a moment. Tuning into the body breathing. Notice the rising and falling, expansion and contraction, natural movement of the body breathing itself. You drop down into the abdomen and stomach. Again, you may notice the sensations of the body breathing. Rest your awareness with the body and just stick with whatever sensations arise. Drop down into the hips, the pelvis, butt. You probably feel the point of contact with your body meets the chair or cushion. Taking a moment to feel these sensations. Move on into the thighs and knees, noticing any points of contact, any tensions, clothes on the body, and anything else present in your direct experience. Drop into the calves, shins, and ankles, seeing what's present for you. Perhaps there's some ease or some jittery or anxious feeling in the legs. Whatever's present, be with it. Finally, move into the feet, going over the heel, the arch, the ball of the foot, the toes, and the top of the foot. Tune into the points of contact where the feet are touching the ground, tucked up underneath you. Take a moment here at the end to tune into the whole body together, head to toe. You'll be able to feel the breath energy as it moves through the body. Get a sense of the entire outline or posture of the body as it rests here. Take a moment to take about 3 breaths. Big one in. Slowly release that out. Another one in. Release that out. Notice how your shoulders may drop. Feel the tension pooling at the bottom of your feet. Last breath in. Release that out. Your eyes open. That's it. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Charlene. We really want to start with that mindfulness activity because one, it's been a long day. I'm sure everyone's been running around campus and this is kind of a heavier subject. So we want to really ground the space and really make sure that we were intentional with everyone's time today. My name is Matt Williamson. I am the case management coordinator here at Santa Monica College with our care and prevention team. So we also recognize that we're here. We've got people online, we've got people in the room, and we're going to try to do something. You know, technology doesn't work. Mercury might be in Gatorade or something, but it didn't work. So what we're going to try to do is I'm going to break the cardinal sin of presenting. I'm going to ask you to take out your phone. I need you on your devices right now. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to...
Does everyone have a phone?
We're going to go to Slido.com. If you're familiar with Slido.com, It's pretty straightforward. You're gonna actually, that's supposed to be a QR code. It's supposed to make it really easy, but things just they don't happen like you really want them to sometimes. But if you put in that ID code 1835569, and this is also for my people online, the QR code's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. It's worked every day up until this point and until I need it to. So we're gonna go into that, and I'll pull it up for our people online as well. Give me 1 second.
We'll go.
Oh, sorry. 1835569. For my people online, we'll share this for you as well. Oh, we've already started. So the first question was, what is your favorite dessert? That was the first question. And people are putting in their favorite desserts. We're making sure this works. Thank you for everyone. What do we have here? Susan, can you read off some for us?
Peach cobbler,
Love it.
chocolate lava cake,
Love it.
lots of frosting. I like that too. Halo, halo.
Hello, 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 Filipino.
Oh, okay, sorry, yeah, holla, holla. Optional. Sorbet.
Good.
Ice cream cake, strawberry shortcake, that's one of my favorite.
Got it.
Churros. Did I just read olive oil ice cream?
Yes.
Olive oil ice cream.
It's got a fancy taste. I like it.
Peanut butter pie.
Perfect, perfect. So perfect. So now that we know how that works, right?
The tears of disgruntled student.
I love it.
Right?
So next thing we're gonna
I
do,
had to read it.
the next portion of our presentation is we're gonna run into a vignette, right? And I'm going to start this. And so I'm gonna ask you for, as I read this, what emotions are evoked for you? There might be things like anxiety, some experiences that you've had. I'm gonna read this and let's go ahead and do this together. So meet Bishop. Bishop is a 23-year-old student that has been in your class for about 4 weeks now, a little bit of time. Their attendance is sporadic, often late, and when they come in, they're often unprepared. Last class, Bishop came in looking disheveled, had scratches on their arms, and disrupted the classroom environment as they came in. You tried to address their behavior, but they blow you off. They storm out of the class, telling you they have to get to their next course. Then Bishop comes into your office hours. It's close to the end of office hours. You're ready to go home. Had a long day. They again look tired. You believe you smell alcohol. Well, Bishop wants to know, why didn't they get the proper grade on their last assignment? Back and forth ensues. You tell them this was the grade you earned. Bishop raises their voice at you. Then Bishop slams their fist on the desk. Starts crying uncontrollably. Lastly, you hear them utter, "I just wish I wasn't here. This is too hard." That's Bishop. Sure, we all have Bishop experience in our time here. We've got some concern, we've got some fear, annoyed, concerned, worried, anxious, heartbroken, frustrated. All these emotions, right? Got a sad emoji. Passion, cry for help. All these things. These are the students that we're dealing with. These are the students that are in distress. Now, learn some skills around that. Uses.
So again, the title of the presentation, kind of what we're going to focus on, is a little bit heavy. And I'll be honest, there are workshops that last several days
Not in the shop for the books online.
There are workshops that last several days focusing on how do we handle individuals who are struggling in front of us, right? And so this is by no means going to cover all of the various things that we might have encountered that you probably have encountered. We're hoping that this will be a taste and that, you know, we would open ourselves to come to your department for future presentations if we wanted to focus on specific things, because we could cover anxiety and it would take several hours, for example. So we really do want to engage in dialogue, but what I would ask is that we just hold questions to the end because we do have quite a bit of content we want to get through. And hopefully we'll have enough time at the end to get to some questions. So I really wanted to shout out to my team, please. They're amazing. We are by no means coming to you as experts in how do we handle every single crisis that could possibly come to campus. Some of us are experts though. But together, we really do bring a diverse perspective and we work really closely together to try to look at a situation holistically, including yourself, including your department, including the student, as best as we can to come up with a response that's really from the heart. You know, we really want to be as supportive as possible to you and to the student so that we can support our students. So Dr. Susan Fila, she, her pronouns, and I'm the chair of the care and prevention team. I'll pass it to Matt.
Matt Williamson, case management coordinator, he, him pronouns. Go for it.
So we're sitting here. Hi, I'm Lena Ladizhinskaya. I'm the Director of Student Judicial Affairs. Are we saying our desserts?
She didn't.
You know what? My bad. My favorite dessert is creme brulee.
I'll go peach cobbler.
My favorite dessert is a Russian dessert called smetanyik. It's a sour cream cake.
I'm loving it.
Everybody on lunch.
I'm Charlene Maslon, she, her pronouns. I'm the Basic Needs Project Manager and my favorite dessert is apple pie.
Bob Myers.
Good afternoon, I'm Bob Myers. I'm campus counsel. I've been part of the team since 2009.
And your favorite dessert?
I take the Fifth Amendment.
Chief Adams.
Johnny Adams, I'm the chief of police, been here 9 years, and I was gonna say creme brulee because I didn't see it up there, but then you went and said it, but
Same dessert.
it is my favorite as well.
Same dessert. Now I know what to get you for a special occasion.
Good afternoon. I am Tracy Hunter. I've been here 4 years. I'm the Associate Dean of Financial Aid and Scholarships, and favorite desserts are peach cobbler and strawberry shortcake.
Yeah, pick. You just can't pick.
Hi, everybody. I'm Natalie Lai. I'm the DSPS faculty coordinator. And my favorite dessert is dark chocolate mousse. This is
We do have one participant online. I'm not sure if y'all can hear them. So I know Allison Brown is joining from the Center for Wellness and Wellbeing. And I don't know her favorite dessert. Maybe she can throw it in the chat.
Oh, can you hear me?
We can.
Oh, okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Allison Brown. I'm the coordinator of Center for Wellness and Wellbeing, she, her pronouns. And my favorite dessert is a recent one, chocolate olive oil cake. Highly recommend.
Sounds lovely. I just want to point out some key folks that are not here. Lisa Winter from Human Resources Title IX is an important person on our team. Ilan Ortega from the Ombuds Office, another important member of our team. Dion Carter, Dean of Academic Affairs, another key and important person. Dr. Sara Nieves Lucas, another key important person, Chair of Counseling Department. That's someone from our team? Okay. Denise Kinsella from International Education. And so together, as I mentioned earlier, none of us are experts in any one particular area, although some of us are in threat assessment and other areas. But together, we really try to take a holistic approach to each unique case. Okay, so our objectives today, we are hopefully going to be able to name the issue that we're experiencing. What have we been seeing kind of nationally and locally on campus? Some of you might have realized there's been sort of an increase of certain types of behaviors, right? But we also have experienced this sort of transition ourselves. We haven't been on campus, right, to the same degree in years. Although some of us have police and other areas. We're going to be able to learn some tools, skills for yourself to determine kind of when a student might be in distress, and how to manage not only kind of your own emotional reaction, but how you might best support the student. You'll learn resources, and we will be able to actually revisit that venue. Suggestions on how to support Bishop. Pass it to Chief Adams.
Okay. So I came up a lot with this data just a couple days ago because counseling department invited me over there and I made a PowerPoint presentation the day before. So this is a couple of the slides that we had. So, you know, some of the things that we talk about is post-pandemic, there's been an increase in mental health, right, related symptoms, particularly depression and anxiety. We're seeing it a lot in our Maxient reports. We see it almost every single day out in life. There's also studies out there that have shown that. I think it was up to 12% since, you know, that the Oxford University actually did a study and found out there was a 12% increase. I think even 12.5% increase in depression and anxiety since, you know, COVID started because of the isolation, the fact that they're not being able to communicate with people, you know, as much. They're all online for the most part. And so there's just not that interaction. There's been an increase in substance abuse in the realm of alcohol and opioids. That's been something nationally that we've seen. And there's also more deaths related to that with the opioid that we have. One of the things that I'll let you know, our officers all carry Narcan. We all have that stuff. It's all on our belts and stuff like that. I have extras even if we have to use it and we have to replace. We do replace it every 2 years because they do expire and stuff. So we do have it on campus, and we've actually, early on, we saved 2 students' lives from opioid overdoses because they had gotten into using that. And people don't realize that our students will also, you know, go to drugs. And then there's an increase in suicidal ideation and completed suicides, particularly among the adolescents. And you probably see that in the news a lot with the bullying and things like that. So, next slide, please. Okay. So what do we see here? So on campus, there has been an increased substance use. We're actually seeing it, not only that little area by the coffee spot, kids are smoking, we're catching, you know, marijuana, we're catching them drinking alcohol. We had them, I guess, 2 semesters ago, do donuts on structure 3, all partying and, you know, things like that. So they're bringing that activity onto campus. They don't socialize anyplace else. And finally, they're back on campus. They're socializing and they're making it a social atmosphere. We have now kind of eradicated a lot of that behavior, at least here, but know that it does happen in classes. You know, there are going to be people that may drink. We have an adult population, you know, and there's a difference between drinking 1 drink and going to class versus being under the influence. You know, so there's a lot of different things on that. So, and I bring that up because I think that's one of the things that we've noticed in a lot of our cases is people telling us that they felt their students were under the influence. Some of the things that we do that are a little different, I think, is we actually have some training in that. You know, we can do our nystagmus test and determine if they're under the influence, things like that. And so if you have a person in the class and you're concerned about that, you know, and it is a violation of student code of conduct. So if you were going to do, I don't want to steal somebody else's thunder, but take some action, you know, we can always be there to support and help in that. There's more classroom outbursts, increase in housing insecure population. We've been seeing that quite a bit. I think that's why the board is actually going to put some residence halls down near the Bundy campus. And a lot, I can't place my finger on it, behavior. And that's what we're hearing from you guys. So, you know, they're saying, I've got a feeling something's wrong, but I just don't know what it is because they, you know, you haven't experienced it. That's why when I give a lot of these presentations, I talk about when you do your Maxient reports, paint the picture. And so, because I don't know what you're seeing. So use those terms, those words that are very, you know, descriptive. You know, because that kind of triggers me into how I look at certain cases. You know, for instance, like today, I literally just dealt with one case all day long. You know, working with different people and writing a lot of reports and doing a lot of assessment things. And it's based on some of the keywords that were in that Maxent report. And so if it's not descriptive, I may not see it. If I don't see it, then, you know, it might just kind of go through until we see it again, so that we can then identify it as a pattern and then do something about it. So first time is always the best. Early is always the best because we truly want our students to succeed, right? So if we can catch it early, stop the behavior, help them get their, you know, the tools that they need, succeed, then it's something that we don't have, you know, we know we've done a good job versus kicking somebody out on a suspension. Like I said earlier, lack of social interaction and social cues, there's increased isolation. We're seeing a lot of students who they don't seem to be able to communicate very well. Everything's on text, right? Everything, I mean, that's why we call and talk about Live Safe, because you can text and no one, you know, no one will notice because everybody texts now. So, you know, they communicate that way. They prefer communicating that way. I mean, my son does. He'll be in the other room and it's like, just come over here and just talk to me. So it drives me crazy. But I think it's also important to know that that's kind of generational. In law enforcement, there actually is a trend back in the East Coast. They're actually teaching new officers and taking them to the mall and then evaluating those new officers and how they interact with the public, because those younger officers are like, well, I'm used to texting, you know, and so they're very nervous. They're very shy. They don't know what to say. And they were finding that when they didn't do this training, they're very authoritative because they felt officious, and that's how they should act, when really they should just act like a person, right? So that's some of the training and things that we're doing on our side. We're seeing more suspensions, immediate and otherwise. We probably had the worst week that we ever had just last week or so. And then there's a higher intake of referrals. Mainly, you know, we're getting everything, you know, from food insecurities to housing insecurities to, you know, things that are happening off campus that students are dealing with, whether it be abuse, things like that. But it's really important that we see that, because then when I do a threat assessment, if I do see stuff that's out off campus, it may be triggering how they're acting on campus. And so, I mean, like this case today, something that I didn't see till, you know, I got more into it was, you know, this student had a blog. And this blog actually was talking about trauma when they were 13, 14 years old. You know, and maybe that's the, you know, beginning of some of the problems that this person is manifesting right now. And so we're looking at a lot of that stuff so I can make a big picture of this person and determine whether we think that they're going to be a future threat. You know, is it immediate, or is it something that we can then get the real help for that they need and then move from there? And then there's a higher need for BN resources.
Basic needs.
Oh, basic needs. Thank you. I'm like, that wasn't in my slide. So there is a higher need. We see that all the time, and we've been really good. You know, you guys have been excellent in getting a lot of those resources out there. And there's an increased need for campus collaboration, because we haven't been together a lot, you know, till now. And so, you know, there's a lot of collaboration, you know, with a lot of different people. And I think that's important. We have to get back to that robust, you know, collaboration between all the departments so that we can really serve our students. Bob, you're up.
Thank you. I think this was called a longitudinal perspective rather than saying perspective of the oldest person on the parent prevention team. I graduated from college in 1972, law school 1975, received a master's degree from Penn State in 2018. I'm currently in a Master of Science program at Penn State. So I've been a lifelong educator. I've taught at Loyola Law School and here at Santa Monica College. In my opinion, it was far harder to teach at Santa Monica College than at Loyola Law School. And my opinion, based upon this 50 years of being in the education system, is that it takes far more skill to be a community college teacher than someone who is in the Cal State system, the UC system, graduate school, or law school. Community college personnel are the heroes of the California higher education system because we provide access to all and try to meet the dreams of students who come from a wide variety of backgrounds. Our students do have challenges. We are an open door to everyone, and you are confronted with those challenges in the classroom. At times, you face problems that no person should have to face alone. And that's why we have a care and prevention team to try to partner with you to solve those problems. And the most important thing that you can do is let us know about the problems you're facing so that you don't face them alone. There's a big group of people with a wide variety of experience, and we will take appropriate action. And that appropriate action can be basic needs support, or it can be a suspension. We suspended 7 students 2 weeks ago because they were engaged in conduct that should not be allowed to take place in the community college system. By contrast, we serve far more students in terms of trying to provide them with mental health assistance, with basic needs assistance, but we need to know about it early on, and that's where you come in. You report to us as soon as you can so that you can continue to be the heroes of the higher education system in California.
You didn't see it, but you've got an amen corner. You got a full amen corner. People are saying great things. All right, so let's get into kind of some of the tools, right? So what to do? We've got all this information. We recognize what's happening, but let's talk about actually how to kind of. All right. So first things first, signs of distress. A lot of these things will be kind of obvious to you because you actually see them. But I won't go through everything, but one of the things I really want to point out here is decreased productivity. That's actually something we do see in our Maxi reports a lot. Someone starts off the semester really engaged and they're really doing well and they're turning in their assignments. And something happens throughout that 16 weeks potentially of your class. That could be indicative of something going on. It doesn't have to be, right? So any of these things in and of itself is not necessarily a red flag, but when we get a conjunction of these things together, then we kind of have a little bit more of a, hey, there's something might potentially be going on here. Another one, a decline in personal hygiene. Again, as we mentioned, we do have a housing insecure population. Again, not necessarily indicative of something, but that could be indicative of something bigger. Sometimes one of the signs of mental health is when someone stops taking care of themselves, right? So just something to be aware of. And then things you'll hear. These are things that come up to us pretty often. A lot of hopelessness and pessimism. Someone will say, if I'm thinking of a recent report, someone mentioned that someone got their assignment back and they were like, I'm a failure. Can't do this. I'm never going to make it out of community college, right? A lot of our students are struggling with things like that. Feelings of inadequacy and worthlessness, very similar. Express difficulty with attention and memory. It's also a big one. Something that a lot of people don't necessarily pick up on, but as if someone's cognitively not taking care of themselves, that's one of the things that comes up. And then expressions of frustration and anger may include outbursts. One of the things that we have faculty is oftentimes that there were little outbursts leading up to the bigger one. And a lot of times that you don't think of those things like, hey, maybe I should refer that, or I'm going to tell you this. There's nothing bad for you to refer, right? If you ever have an inkling of that someone might be struggling, please let us know. One of the things we say often is that you never know when you have that missing piece of information, right? Part of our job is being able to piece things together. So if you have that missing puzzle piece, it really helps us. Next slide. Those buttons though actually work. Really quickly, suicidal ideation. I pulled this from Chief Adams' slide in the presentation he did last week. I thought it was really poignant. A lot of times that, when we hear the idea of suicide, we think it clams us up. We get really nervous. We don't know what to do. We're like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen? One of the things that we really want to touch here is, again, this is not meant to be a suicide training, that we can have that conversation if we want to. But passive ideation versus active ideation. A lot of times people actually experience suicidal ideation by mental health clinicians. How long?
Many of our students experience passive thoughts of suicidal ideation for years, and they learn to live with it and manage it. And they can come and go, or they can be constant. But it is scary to hear, right? When we hear that someone is feeling that they might want to, not wake up tomorrow, that's a scary thing for us to sit with and to hear. And so we don't want to minimize it. It doesn't mean it's not serious, right? The important thing is to get help. And it's treatable, right? But we also want to differentiate that sometimes police don't need to be called. And actually, 9 times out of 10, police don't need to be called. It's about resources and support.
Again, early intervention is key. Second point here is recognize your role. You don't have to be a therapist in that moment. You're not necessarily trained in the kind of suicide safe models and all those things, right? So don't necessarily feel like you have to take all that on at one time. And then I will plug here our 24-hour hotline. That is through our Center for Wellness and Wellbeing, CWW. That's available to all students and for yourself as faculty and staff anytime. If you ever want to feel like you need to consult, you're having a student that has a mental health emergency, needs a little bit of a support, that is your go-to. We like to walk people over to CWW, but sometimes that's also not available. Sometimes people teach late classes. That 24-hour hotline is there for you at any given time. Sorry, it's want me to do
So
it?
that's a great question. You'll just sit over here briefly. Protocol is our 1-800 hotline. That's an extension of SMC. So it's staffed with live clinicians 24/7. And they answer the phone as if they're Center for Wellness and Wellbeing support staff. Again, it's an extension of our staff. It's a contract that we have that we pay for. And we do have, it ranges between 50 to over 100 calls each and every month. So students are utilizing it. So it's meant to be a crisis support line. They can initiate welfare checks if the student is an imminent risk. They'll do thorough risk assessments. And it's also a service that faculty and staff can use. So if you're sitting with a student and you, want the student to be assessed and you're not sure if it's at the level of calling police, or you feel like that might cause more harm, that's a really good option. Calling with the student, they again can do the assessment, and it's confidential. Similar to the way wellness is confidential. So if, for example, the student is an imminent risk, they would want to initiate a welfare check. So if that student was on campus, they would call SMCPD. If the student was off campus, they would initiate a welfare check with the community where the student resides. Did I go to the right slide?
Yes, you did. Thank you. So let's talk about some tools. One of the things that we always get asked is, okay, that's great. I understand that things are going on, but what do I do? What do I do when I'm in the room? I don't know. I just need some skills, right? So the next 2 slides will kind of touch on some of those things. The first things first, don't judge or be dismissive of the person's feelings, of the feelings of the person in distress. And I think this ties into the second point. The person's feelings are real. No matter how irrational we feel that someone may be thinking, they're real to them, and they might be the most important thing to them in the world at that time. We should approach it as such. Right. Next point, you may have some trauma things yourself. Sometimes when we are dealing with people, it might trigger, right? We have to recognize that sometimes that actually escalates us as well, and how we are dealing with that situation. See, so we had that twice. The more a person in distress, the less they hear your words. This is actually from Chief Adams. Would you like to touch on that?
Yeah, one of the things, especially when we get complaints, a lot of times we'll get these complaints and we'll try to calm a person down, and they don't want to hear it. All they're going to do is they're just going to keep talking and talking. So what do? We just sit back and listen, because a lot of times they just want to get everything off their chest. I've had people complain about an officer's behavior or something regarding a ticket. And then when it's all over, they feel like, oh, thank you very much for listening, you know, and that's all they wanted to do is to be heard. So it's really important that you're just hearing the words, you're kind of not using that verbal, you know, nonverbal communication. Because if you start crossing your arms, you know, like I'm bored, you know, I don't really want to hear this and things like that. If you start acting like that, that person sees what you're doing and they're going to think, well, you really don't care, you know? And so why am I even bothering to, you know, spill my guts to you if you're going to act that way? So if you really want to help the person on the other end, you have to watch those nonverbal communications. And, you know, and you got to keep things in check for yourself. Like, I mean, I've shared this with you. I went to a class called Verbal Judo, and he had shared with us that, you know, appreciation is a word, you know, so you could say, you know, I really appreciate you doing this. But he said, appreciate is not. So when the person gets under your skin, you might want to say something like, you know, I appreciate what you're saying. You can give it any definition you want. Now, since we're online too, I'm not going to say what I would give that definition, but it's something that would calm me down when somebody's yelling and screaming at me, right? But then that person's thinking that I'm listening to them and that I'm really concerned about what they're saying. But I needed something for myself to, you know, ground myself so I wouldn't lose my temper.
Can I just add one more point that we're not asking you to put yourself in a situation where you're being verbally abused, right? So if someone is calling you names, making you feel uncomfortable, attacking you, you know, in ways that are really uncomfortable, it's okay to end the conversation if it's over phone, right? So there's a line, right? So listen to the words, right? The tone is important, but also listen to the words, right? Because sometimes people are escalated and elevated, but it's not necessarily attacking you, the individual, or the department. They're just frustrated, right? And so there's a difference between the two.
Some more skills, again, in the moment. If you can, ask to speak privately. Sometimes we know that sometimes people like audiences and that having other people around can actually be a detriment to the situation. So if you can, please ask the person, hey, can we step outside? Can we step to another area just so that we can have this conversation more privately? The second one, don't match tone. A lot of times if someone does this, you want to go with them, right? We try to match that. Well, if you're gonna scream at me, I'm gonna scream at you. And what does that do? Now we're all screaming and can't nobody hear nothing. Right? So if we always keep a low tone, that helps to really bring someone back down to their baseline. I was in a presentation and someone said, you know, it looks really silly when you're yelling at someone and they're kind of whispering back at you. That's actually one thing that helps regulate some of that, diffuse some of that anger at times. Don't promise confidentiality. None of us, I think anyone in the room is a confidential resource. So you don't say, hey, you know, if you tell me these things, I won't have to tell anyone. A lot of times we have that idea that we want to create that safety for someone, but it actually hurts in the long run because there are some things that you might have to tell someone. So then that you don't want to have to deal with that on the back end. Additionally, don't tell them that you can fix the issue. That's kind of the actual natural human nature to be like, well, we can do this. Everything's going to work out. If it doesn't, now you told me that it did. Right? So we just want to be clear on kind of how the words that we use and make sure that we're not promising anything that we can't keep up. Recognize your own limits and what's feasible. I think I said this before. None of us are clinicians in the room. Right? Hired as clinicians in our role here. So just be sure that recognizing that what is feasible for you in your role. Use active listening and reflective listening skills. Anyone have any idea what those are? All right. So active listening. If someone's talking to me, similar to Chief Adams' point, and I'm reflecting back what you said. I think I heard you say this. It sounds like you said this. That helps really engage someone and let them know that you care, that you're listening, and that you're actively being engaged with them versus kind of just blowing them off.
Can I add one more thing there? It also gives the individual the power to say, actually, that's not what I'm trying to say to you. You have it all wrong. And you might have to sit there for another 30 minutes until they get their story straight, but at least they are attempting to get out, right, what their frustration is. And that can really diffuse the situation and make someone feel seen and heard.
Definitely. That's actually two of our points here. Oftentimes the person that wants to be heard and realize it may take time. In our vignette, we realized it was the end of the day and we were ready to go home after office hours, right? But sometimes if we're gonna do the work to really de-escalate the situation, you have to hear a person out. I tell my interns that I work with that sometimes therapy really just looks like someone wanting to talk expletive for 45, 50 minutes, right? I've sat in there, I've clinician in my past, and I've sat in sessions where a person really just came in and they said, I hate this person, I hate this, I do this. I didn't say a thing. You're like, I felt so much better afterwards. It's like, why not go to grad school for that? So just recognize that sometimes giving someone space is really the intervention in that moment. And then lastly, refer and communicate. You don't have to do any of this alone. I think that's the really point I want to drive home here. That we're here and we exist as a team to make sure that you can have a resource and you have tools in your box that you don't have to deal with these situations all on your own. Anything for my colleagues before we move on? All right, thank you. Oh, okay, sorry, a couple more tools. The LiveSafe app, Chief Adams is a champion of that. If you don't have it on your phone, please put it on your phone. There's a lot of great resources within that app to keep you safe. Particularly if you're with a student, if you need some assistance, if you need some consultation. Do you want to talk about the LiveSafe? I know you love
I
it.
think it's important that you actually explore what's on there. You know, I think so many times people will download the app or they'll hear about it and say, I'm gonna download it later. And then they ask all these questions and you know, I just feel like saying, well, if you just looked at the app, it's all there, you know? So we put a lot of time and energy in there to put a lot of resources in there, a lot of phone numbers, a lot of links. These are things that are gonna help you instead of going onto your computer and going, I need to find this, you can just get it off the app and it's very quick. So explore it after you download it.
Campus escorts, if you ever feel like you need an escort to your car, that is available to you through our police and through the LiveSafe app. There it is.
And then also, we'd like you to call about 15 minutes in advance. Let's say an officer, it's at CMD. The CSO, and he's got to drive from CMD to here to do it. And then you're like, where is this person? Why are they taking so long? Well, it's because they have to come from one location to another. So we always say, you know, let's do that. If you don't call for an escort, and you're walking, walk with other people, well-lit places. Something that a lot of people don't think about is look in your back seat before you get in. Because it's important to do that because somebody may be breaking into your car. You don't know it. And then they're hiding from you, but they're really in the backseat. I've actually experienced that, you know, on a call when I was a young officer.
Classroom removal through our student judicial affairs office. If you ever have a student that you feel needs a timeout and is disruptive, you can use the classroom removal. Perfect. Thank you. If you feel like you're in danger, please don't hesitate to call campus police. That is a resource and they are a tool for us here on campus. And then lastly, I'll reiterate the 24-hour hotline for emotional support. Number back up.
Can I just also add one more thing, that if you do have the knowledge that a student is coming in that might be a little more challenging, right? And you have the ability to schedule it earlier in the day where you might have a little more emotional bandwidth, a little more energy, that can be helpful versus scheduling it later in the day. I think, at least for me personally, my tendency is to schedule it later, right? Like avoiding a little bit. But it's also the time where you're a little more tired. You can't predict what's going to happen throughout the day that might be frustrating us. And it's also a time where you might want to just connect with colleagues and say, hey, I'm going to, you know, have this student come in and whether it's in person or remote, you know, I might just need a little bit of support. Can we debrief after, right? We don't, again, always have control, but if we do have control, it can be helpful to schedule it in the day where we have a little more, again, emotional bandwidth, a little more energy, maybe a little more patience. Now, if you have early, young babies like me, early is probably not the best. Maybe you want to wait till midday, right? But you really want to get to know your own personal preference. So just really checking in with your body throughout the day, right? Like, when can I deal with the most tension, right? Those things really do matter.
Now we will talk about our resources.
All right, so kind of one of the biggest takeaways is you don't have to do it alone. We can't do our work without you. We really want to partner with you on each and every situation. So again, refer early and refer often. Each of our team members who are here, and I'm sorry, you will miss some folks, but we'll just share a little bit more about the resources we have to offer.
And I'll just share a little bit really quick about basic needs. Some of you may know, to refer a person or a student to basic needs, since we don't actually have a dedicated office or space, the best way to do it would be online on our website, which is hyperlinked here. Right at the top of the website is the make an appointment button. That's where you'd want a student or yourself referring a student to make the appointment, and then a counselor will reach out to them. Right now, we're seeing about a 1 week wait time, just because we are receiving a lot of housing needs, other basic needs, so it is taking a little bit more time. But that is the best way to get a student connected with a basic needs counselor. Other option could be, we're often hanging around Bodega, so you can come in, there may be someone, one of the interns or a basic needs counselor, myself, that would be available to meet with the student as well. And I'd say that's probably the most frequent email that I receive is someone asking, how do I get a student connected with a basic needs counselor? Our website, make an appointment.
Thank you, Charlene.
Next, tab 9.
Lisa Winter is actually hosting a workshop as we speak, and so she's not here, but she does sit on our core team. We didn't want to go too much into our structure, but we do have a core team that meets every week. Oftentimes we'll connect throughout the week, sometimes daily. Ombuds and Title IX are both not here, but both are part of our team. And honestly, one of the questions we get asked very frequently is, how does a student make a complaint about an instructor? And oftentimes depending on what the situation is, if we don't have a lot of detail, I will share with the student, maybe talk with ombuds first, right? Because it is a confidential space. They don't even take notes. They don't write a student's name down. And so they'll really be able to talk through with a student in a confidential space what their best next steps are. IEC, International Education Center, we do have a lot of unique challenges with our international students. And so it's really key that Denise is part of our team. Students are coming from all over the world, coming from a myriad of different places, some that have well-established mental health supports and some that don't. Some whose families are supportive of their journey and some that are not. And so we do partner with IEC when we have a specific and unique situations that impact our international students. Tracy.
So again, many of you guys know how to access financial aid and to get in contact with us. My position is very recent in being added to the CPT, and it's been very valuable because many of the Maxient reports that are coming in, students are experiencing financial aid issues. More recently, with us being out for COVID, you guys are aware we had a lot of emergency funds that we were able to give, and we're still getting those questions. We have no more money. Unfortunately, everything is tapped out. It's tapped out at the government level, at the state level. We actually do not have any more emergency funds. So a lot of times students will experience distress in the classroom because they're stressed out. Their financial aid is late. In part, maybe they haven't done everything that they needed to do. So for sure, you guys can always reach out to me. Many of you guys know Stacy in the back as my second right hand. So either one of us, just reach out to us. We're here to help you. And I definitely add a lot of value sitting on the team when we are discussing things that come up concerning financial aid. So thank you.
Sara Nieves Lucas is, Dr. Sara Nieves Lucas is not here today, but we do, I think counseling has been on the CPT probably since its inception. Brenda Benson was the chair when it first started back in 2007-8. And Lori was on the team. And so I don't know how much more I have to say about counseling. It's just very much integrated into the CPT. And Natalie.
Hi again, everybody. So my role in CPT is to lend my disability expertise to the team to address disability issues or behavior concerning my students. And some of the issues may require me to share the diagnosis, since CPT is a confidential space, that we could do that. And it may require also us to get involved. So I will ask the counselor who know the student the best to connect with the student and to talk it through about what's happening, because a lot of it is disability issues and what we could do to support the student as well as the instructional faculty. And sometimes they get reported to SJA. So Lena or the students or both would ask us, the counselor who know the student the best, or I, participate in the meeting. Because all of our students, including student with disability, must adhere to the student code of conduct. So they get reported as well. But at the same time, I also have faculty or staff on campus who will call DSPS directly to address some of our students' issues. So it might not go to the CPT route, or sometime we will ask the faculty to file a CPT report or an SJA report, depending upon what the issue is. Thank you.
I don't, Allison, can you hear us?
Sorry, I was muted. I was like, why can't anybody hear me? Can you hear me?
Ken.
Oh, perfect. So the Center for Wellness and Wellbeing is a confidential office on campus. We're located in the math complex, not in the student services building or the health building. So people get confused where we are. We're over in the math complex, room 75, right near the math lab. You can find out more information about our office right here, just .smc.edu/wellness. And on our website, you can find out how to make an appointment. It's very easy. Students can submit an online report. As far as our role on the CPT, we're really there more for consultation, since a lot of the reports that do come in have a mental health component. We can't share any information. If we happen to be seeing that student in our office, we cannot share any information with the CPT unless the student has given us permission to do so. So oftentimes when faculty are referring or staff are referring to our office, if you are unsure whether or not that student is going to take your referral and come over to us and you're really concerned, we'll often tell faculty and staff to go ahead and submit that report or concern to the CPT, since the CPT is not a confidential office. So that way they can follow up. And even if we follow up in CWW, we can't share what we know unless the student has given us information to do so. But I really invite any of you, if you have any questions about our office or concerns about a student, we can certainly hear anything you have to say. So you can contact either me, Allison Brown, or Danilo Donoso, who's the other full-time therapist. And he's right there. I see him on screen. Yeah, so that's it. That's all I have to say. I know this is quick, but please reach out to us if you have any questions. Thanks.
What we've all been waiting for, student conduct? No? Okay. Thank you for bearing with us. We literally have a minute to talk to you about kinds of things that we offer in student conduct. You know, our team didn't collude on this, but the point that all of us are driving home is consult with us early. The earlier, the better, because what we see happen on the back end is we have wonderful, loving, and caring staff and faculty and administrators who want to help and support students. And we don't like the concept of reporting. That's why we don't call it even reporting. We call it sharing concern. We want to hear from you early so that we can help. So most of my day in student conduct is actually spent consulting with our faculty and our staff about various situations that are happening. So what we do is kind of help you set boundary with students who are crossing boundaries. We kind of help you mitigate circumstances and give you advice about things that are happening. And the idea is we want to do that before it escalates. We want to do that before we need to suspend someone, before things get bad. I never breathe when I do this. Okay. And so the second, say it again.
She can do another breathing exercise.
That's right, sure, head to toe me. The other thing is, you know, what we do in our office is kind of facilitated preemptive conversation. So, you know, we don't expect you to be experts in having really difficult, challenging conversations. Like, I'm not an expert in financial aid or with students with disabilities. I want to be able to help in our office support having those difficult conversations. And that sometimes involves having a facilitated dialogue, having someone there in the room with you, navigating these difficult conversations. And so that's something that we can offer through our office as well. Things like, sometimes folks don't want to sit in the room with a student. It's not going to go well. And so things, you know, like shuttle diplomacy, I will be in the middle in between two folks, kind of going back and forth and making sure everybody's feeling comfortable and supported. So we want to do all of these preemptive steps again before things get really bad. Other things we do are joint meetings with departments. So if we know a student belongs to a special program, we know a student has a connection with someone on campus, we have that information. We want to be able to partner with those individuals in order to help support both the student and whatever is happening with the student around our campus. We want to do that in the most supportive way possible. And sometimes that involves, I'm looking at Maria. How many times have we reached out to partner on cases, right? How many times have we reach out to Janet in counseling or Dr. Sara Nieves-Lucas? So we want to make sure that we are partnering to have those joint conversations. And then Matt reminded me to say that sometimes student conduct and interventions like suspension, like classroom removals, like getting someone off our campus immediately is the right intervention. Let's face it, right? Sometimes the situations are dangerous. They're threatening to the health and safety of our campus. So let's not forget that that is also a resource that we offer. But the point is, consult with us, call us, email us, send carrier pigeons. We are available and we want to help before things escalate.
I left my carrier pigeon at home.
Owl, Harry Potter, whatever.
Yeah, so we just want to show you very briefly how to make a referral. So smc.edu/care. We used to be the crisis prevention team back in 2018. We did some rebranding because we don't always handle students in crisis. In fact, most of our referrals, except 2 weeks ago, students were not in crisis, right? And so every day we're dealing with the upstream type of behaviors, right, before they get to a crisis level. So I like to think we prevent a lot of crisis. It's hard to share that data because it doesn't exist. So you'll go to the website, share a concern, and then just to reiterate, just be descriptive and detailed and don't give opinions. It's really hard for us to understand where you're coming from if it's just opinion based. But the more descriptive you can be about the student's behavior, even right. So for example, in the narrative where the student was disheveled, you can say the student appeared disheveled, you know, as evidenced by the student's hair is usually groomed, the hair was messy, the student had an odor that smelled like body odor. Like those are the types of things that are very helpful for us so that we can better understand. And it's also helpful if you have like a pre-post. Student doesn't usually look disheveled and students look disheveled in class. And then do you want to talk about, does the student know you are submitting this referral?
Yeah, sure. So I'll talk about that, but also there was a question in the Zoom about kind of, well, should we kind of differentiate between like hey, this is a red flag, this is going to give you a heads up. We will take all referrals, right? No matter if you ever feel like there is something that you would like our team to know, we're available for consultation. One of the things that we kind of do sometimes is also just take referrals as an FYI. So like something's kind of starting to brew and you're like, hey, I just kind of want to document this. I don't know if it's something yet, but can we just have a record of it? We're able to take those. So this is your kind of go-to for whatever it is that you're feeling. And one of the things that we also say we have another presentation that kind of goes into a lot of this. If you ever want that, it's a plug for your department. But there's no such thing as a wrong door, right? So whether it's Title IX, if it's basic needs, if it's the care and prevention team, our SJA, we all use the same form and we're all able to kind of differentiate and kind of behind the curtain, get students where they need to go. So to Susan's question of does a you will have to know, right? Is it anonymous reporting? We do the best that we can. If there's situations where someone says, hey, I would like this person not to know that I reported. Sometimes based upon kind of the situation, that might not be possible. If you're the only person they told that to and we're kind of intervening on that behalf, they're kind of gonna put one and one together. So we will try, but I think the best practice here is also that we can kind of create a a culture of care around the student. So if you say to a student, hey, I'm gonna refer you to the care team, the care and prevention team. Here's the information. And then what happened is on the back end, I'll say, hey, thank you, instructor, reporting party. Thank you for letting the student know. So it's not like, I call it like Big Brother. Like if Big Brother were to just reach out and say, well, how did you know, how'd you get my information? So we just, again, the best we can do, best practice would be if you can let them know on the front end, that helps us on our outreach. On the back end. Last thing I will say here is also that we've talked about kind of the high level things. Most of our referrals actually aren't this. We're actually able to intervene on kind of some of the lower level things. Probably about 80% of our referrals are actually probably lower level things, and we hope that they don't ever rise to this higher level.
So earlier, Matt put up a vignette about a student, Bishop. Kind of having heard the information that you heard today, here's some additional information you might consider about the student. In your conversation with Bishop, you learn that they recently lost their housing and have been staying in their car or on a friend's couches. Their mother passed away 2 months ago, and they are in the process of grieving. They are still really emotional and crying, but tell you that they aren't suicidal, just feel like they need someone to talk to. De-escalated the situation, but they still feel down. What do you do next?
On to you guys.
Consult with us. That's the number one takeaway here. That's great. Thank you. Anything else?
Refer them to the Center for Wellness and Wellbeing and the 1-800 number.
Check in with them in a couple of days.
Check in with them in a couple of days. Thank you. That's
Sure they've gotten in touch with you guys and
sure they've connected. Yeah, and that's something Dr. Ellison Brown would say online. So when you make a referral to the Center for Wellness and Wellbeing, you're not privy to whether or not that student made an appointment, whether or not they had a counseling session. When you refer to both the Center for Wellness and Wellbeing and the Care and Prevention team, we will likely be able to tell you whether or not that student connected with us and the Care and Prevention team, and you can kind of close the loop on that student versus the confidential office of Center for Wellness and Wellbeing.
but for the basic needs office, this is basic needs issues.
That's a really good observation. We're not confidential either, so since we don't do any like clinical therapy work, we're really just connecting students with resources. You can follow up with us to see if the student connects.
And what I will say is just to make it easy on our faculty and staff, we kind of strategically use the same platform for basic needs. So if you referred this student and all this information was exactly what you wrote in your referral to us, Matt on the back end would probably refer it to someone on Charlene's team. So they would make it to basic needs. It's just an easy way for the student to get the information. Because again, there's no centralized office other than Bodega, of course, right? But if the student's like, no, I don't need food, right? It's hard to say where you send them to. Do you send them to Bodega Warehouse? Right? It's not necessarily an office. So I'm trying to emphasize just there's no wrong door, right? It depends on really what you're looking for, but if it's centralized with us, it'll get somewhere.
That's to Susan's point. There's no wrong door on that Maxient report that we saw. There's a drop-down box where you decide if it's Title IX, if it's CPT, if it's basic needs, if it's SJA. But anywhere you send it, it will be routed to the right places. So don't think they're like racking your brain. Am I sending this to the right place? We'll read it. We'll make sure it gets to where it's supposed to go.
And if I could add as well, vice versa, if it were a basic needs report, since I also sit on the care and prevention team, I would consult with Matthew if there are additional things that the care and prevention team needed to know as well.
We have about 5 minutes left for questions. Yes.
Susan, there's a couple, sorry, there's a couple of questions on the chat, so I just didn't want them to get forgotten. If you scroll back up, I think
see 'em,
it's,
Allison.
you see them, thank you, okay,
I got you.
Okay.
thank you.
We'll go to Sherry first and then we'll go to the chat.
I've added to my syllabus the information about SMC Cares and the link to that website if they go to the online version of the syllabus. What is there anything else you recommend to let students know beginning of the semester or throughout the semester that they have access to these resources on their own, not just from a referral?
So, the care and prevention team is really, it is a student resource, right? We do work with students, but it's really a resource for faculty and staff. And so we do get referrals from students and we accept those referrals, but we don't market it in a way where we want students reporting other students. Yeah. Live Safe, I think, is a really good resource for students who might see concerning things, right? Communication with students is a really good way to ensure that they feel comfortable with you, right? If they are to see something that's concerning to them. But we don't market it in the same way. We don't do classroom presentations so that students know it's a resource for them. What I would encourage is to include Basic Needs and Center for Wellness and Wellbeing, which are student-facing resources. So again, we're student-facing in that we engage with students and support students, but our audience is you all. Does that make sense?
Phone number?
The hotline is a resource for students. Yes, and it's amazing that it's on your syllabus. Thank you.
No, I haven't, I'm gonna add that.
Oh, you're going to add it. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, it's a great resource. In fact, AS is putting it on one of their bookmarks that they're gonna be promoting with some artwork. There's one thing that I would take away, that I would want you to take away, is just to share that 800 number. Because it is 24/7, and when our students need support, they'll get it in the. Questions in the chat?
Oh, there was one question earlier about elaborating on passive and suicidal ideation and recognizing your role. As it relates to someone's role as a mandator.
What is the question specifically?
Can you please elaborate on how we step past the suicidal ideation and recognize your role as it relates to our responsibilities as a mandator?
So the student is suicidal and is underage
What-
or protected class, right? A protected.
Right, so you all are mandated reporters for certain populations, right? That is when you become aware of abuse or neglect of minors. So when a student is experiencing suicidal ideation and they are of any age, you want to be able to share that information with us. And if you are aware it's active or you're unsure, it's okay to say, hey, I'm really uncomfortable being able to assess what's going on with you right now. I want to support you to the best of my ability. Would you be comfortable if we called protocol together? They can assess you. I really care about you. I want to make sure you're okay. The students could say, no, I really want nothing to do with you or that, and leaves your office, submit a CPT referral. If the student is telling you, something that sounds more active, I'm going to go home and kill myself tonight, call SMCPD, right? That's very concerned. That's a heightened concern. But it's not a mandated report, right? That would be more if someone is a minor or if someone is a parent and they've explained to you they have children who have witnessed abuse or neglect. Say it again.
Responsible employees under Title IX. The other half.
Related to suicidal ideation.
In terms of mandator.
Okay. I'm not sure I understand the question.
No problem.
Okay.
There's a question on, essentially it's about closing the loop. The person mentioned that, they've submitted some reports and they felt like they haven't gotten a follow-up of how the situation has been handled or about incidents moving forward. Continue to happen.
Thank you. I would just say, please reach out to us. We are not perfect. We strive to be perfect, but we're not. We all have jobs outside of the CPT and we really do our best to engage faculty and staff. And so if you don't get the information, the outcome that you want, it doesn't mean there was an outcome. It was not an outcome. There most likely was an outcome. So just reach back out to us. If it's a really kind of heightened, serious concern, we would really hate to drop the ball on that and hope that you are engaged. But again, with those 80% kind of low level, we might miss being able to reach back out to give you an outcome because we have so many students that we're dealing with, and that's our priority.
I would just also add like the sheer volume of reports that we get. It's not like physically possible to respond to everyone and close that loop. So if you really want, reach out to us, be like, hey, what happened? Can you let us know? We always will. But, you know, as Chief mentioned earlier, I think us as a team went through the toughest week we've ever had professionally a couple of weeks ago. And we were dealing with crisis after crisis after crisis. So some of the lower level kind of reports that, you know, didn't rise to that level, we didn't attend to right away. And that puts the timeline back. So all that's to say is we have my office, just like 600 reports, you know, every year, and a CPT probably double that at this point. So we're not wanting to not close the loop. We just physically can't.
Right. It's a capacity issue, and it's also a care for us, right? Because we are not robots, and we want to make sure that we come to work refreshed and engaged so that we can support you and support students to the best of our ability. So, you know, we all have boundaries, right? But to Bob's point, we are living in a new world, right? And we kind of have to adjust to this new normal.
It's probably a question for Chief. I mean, given some incidents that I know of in the last few weeks, a lot of our public offices, like the suites, might have a panic button. Some people don't. And so when there's like an urgent sort of imminent concern happening, I was talking to my staff on the way over. I said, call campus police and ask for a pizza. They'll eventually figure out you need help. Is there a better strategy than that? That's the best I can come up with on the fly.
So if you're saying something new, one of the things that you can do, and I say this about the Live Safe, I actually had a professor, and I wish I remember the person's name. It was when I first got here and we were talking about Live Safe. She had a disruptive student in the class. She then looked at her phone and goes, oh my God, my husband never texts me in class. Students, can you hold on a second? I got to make a quick text reply to this, okay? And so then she texts campus police and says, I need them here now. And so we show up and then we handle the situation. It was a discreet way of us doing that. When meeting with students that you know that may be disruptive in advance, you might want to have somebody and say, hey, I'm going to be meeting with this person. This is how I feel about that. You know, can you stand by or be close by and let me know? And then you guys create a signal for yourselves. You know, it's really hard. You know, these panic buttons, people think that that's the answer, but it's really not the answer, because a lot of times the protocols on panic buttons, it means it has to be pretty bad and immediate. And a lot of times the officer's going to come in with their guns drawn, possibly even, you know, and that's going to just make and escalate things even worse, right? So, and there are false alarms. So we're calling things. What you can do is if you feel like you want to have a direct dial, Telecom's been really great about adding a direct dial to campus police on your phones. You can just push the button. And then if you feel like, you know, something's going on, you want campus police to listen, you can punch it and they can overhear what's happening, because our lines are all recorded. So everything that goes into dispatch is recorded.
Another thing I'll add that might be helpful too is to go back to your departments and your staff meetings and come up with like a random code, right? So if you are in a situation where you feel unsafe or uncomfortable and you can't call police, you can say like, hey, can you grab me the green folder? Right? So just so that your whole department is living kind of in a culture of safety and support of each other. We rarely take time to step away and have these conversations. Matt and I were just I think we were in the same Zoom meeting at the same time, and a student just ran past, and our door is locked, right? Ran past the office without shoes. It was raining. They were disheveled. They ended up sitting on the floor right outside of Mike Tuatasi's office. And Matt stepped outside to talk to the student. And I realized we haven't even had that conversation, right? And so how important is it? And everything was fine. Matt's fine. And it was okay. But the importance is kind of having that conversation within your team, because we are an open access institution and we have students we want to support to the best of our ability. And some of our students need a lot more support than we are able to provide. Other questions? And we're over time. So thank you so much, everyone. To